Good afternoon. And for this video, we'll be talking about credibility and how to make sure you get your point across to your audience and that they actually believe it. And one of my favorite examples would be scientists, for example. Whenever they conduct a experiment and the results are 100% accurate, whenever they go up to present anything, or present their experiment, obviously. Whenever they go up and present it, they have all this research that they've done. They have all this data that they've collected. They went from trial and error, so they have so much to back up their experiment, which is why an audience is going to believe it, because they're going to see all these numbers, they're going to see the statistics, they're going to see where they started from point A, how they got from point A to point B to point C, and how they finally got to their results. So a scientist is going to be super credible because they have all this research to back it up. They have all this all this information and how they went from, like I said, from point A to point B to point C. So the audience is able to see the process. They're able to see where they got from, how they got there, and what they used along the way to come up with those results, which is why a scientist is a credible speaker, because they have all this research, all this knowledge of how they got to where they got. Another thing a speaker should do whenever they're giving their speech is not only provide them with the research and the information, but along with that, they should provide them with personal experience. That makes a speaker, that just is that's a wall that most people have a hard time coming over. And that's because if you're real with them, if you're real with your audience, if you're willing to open up and give them a little bit of information about your personal life, then they will too. They'll open up and they'll want to listen to what you're saying, because you're not just basing it off of information and research, but you're also throwing in your personal experience and your opinions and stuff that has happened to you, and which is why you get to your conclusion, because it's not only of the stuff that you looked up and all the research and all the knowledge that you know, but it also comes from personal experience. An audience wants to be able to relate to the speaker as well, and it just gives them a better understanding of the topic that you are saying. For example, a scientist, if he conducted an experiment that's going to get the attention of, let's say, 20-year-olds when it comes to drinking and driving, right? Of course, he's not going to, of course, a kid from the age of 9 and 10 isn't really going to pay attention and isn't really going to relate, because they can't even drive at that age. But for someone who is 21 and older, and they're at that age where they can drive, and they are at the age where they're allowed to drink, of course that's who the scientist is going to have a more relatable kind of speech with someone who is actually allowed to do all these things. And well, of course, not allowed to drink and drive, that's very bad, but who is allowed to drive and who is allowed to drink. So definitely it also has to do with the audience and making sure that the topic that you're talking about is relatable to the audience that you're giving it to. Anyhow, that's my speech, and that's how I feel about productive and credible speakers. Anyway, I hope you liked it, and have a nice day.